So we're talking post Money in the Bank. We're talking Heatwave and a little bit of NXT, very little, and a little bit of Raw, very little. Getting straight into the ish, Money in the Bank. My feelings on it, I've already said how I really don't like the setup for Money in the Bank, but regardless of that, I was, not really surprised. It could have gone either way with the Sammy versus Braun Breaker. I'm actually glad that Sammy did win because it takes away from at least from my perspective, it takes away from the Goldberg Braun Breaker comparison just in my head because I was thinking like, oh man, I hope they don't try to make this cat into a Goldberg where he's just beating everybody, and they didn't. So it is what it is. I do like what happened on Raw. For some reason, I get a chuckle out of certain things. Um, it's just, I don't know, it's one of those little things that sometimes when you know things are going to happen, like the spear, how he set that up and speared Sammy on Raw, it just makes me laugh. It's certain little things. Sometimes when people put uh, certain other, like, heels put their feet in a rope, like if, you have someone that's outside and they do it. I don't know, sometimes it just makes me chuckle. Anyhow, yes, I'm glad that that decision went that way, so it just a little bit more humanizes Braun Breaker and doesn't put him in that Goldberg uh, spot. I'm glad that the Bloodline did win. That could have gone. See, that I'm leading into something, so trust me. That to me felt like it could have gone either way, just in terms of their booking. Watching the match and watching the ending promo that Sokoa did on SmackDown the night prior. Going into that match, I'm sitting here saying, all right, they have to win because it has to make him look tougher and more problematic. But sometimes the booking can be funny, and Cody was, feeling himself during that match. He was busting a lot of ass, especially toward the end, and then he got and he got pinned. So it does make Solo, into a stronger character. So no heat on that from me. The Money in the Bank. Oh, okay, yeah. Duh, 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 duh. Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, right? I'm going to come back to this, but I'm just going to speak on it. If we go back to what I said in my pre, right? How there is a weird energy around Priest. Now, what do you have? You had him trip on the rope, even though we did have Jay trip as well. But, oh, not trip, but he got caught in a rope. Then this match, something off with the count. I actually missed it. I didn't even go back to go watch it. But, controversy, whatever, whatever. I'm glad they worked it into the storyline on Raw. But and it's like I said before, it's nothing that he's doing wrong for me. Sometimes it's an energy that people can put out. Listening to other dumb pundits saying, oh, he's not ready. And they start believing that. And it just creates an energy. It is what it is. I don't want to get too on the spiritual, esoteric side of it, but I just wanted to make that point, and I'm going to circle back to that match. I want to go first into the first. I want to go into the men's ladder match. In short, lame, not the spots. A lot of people and these guys they did their thing, but the win was lame to have McIntyre win. Just for my taste, because once he pulled it down, I already knew what was going to happen. It's one thing to think if you listen to my pre saying that Punk was going to get involved, and then to see, and that's just my theory of how I put together the storyline. Once I saw him pull that briefcase down, you knew how it was going to end. And that to me is corny because it's like I already know the ending of the movie. It is what it is. I don't work there. Some cool high spots. I'm glad Andrade got to get some good spots in, and that's all I really will say about that. So I'm not gonna really. Anyway, the females, their women, their Money in the Bank match, as I predicted. This one I actually got right as to how I would put it in. A lot of high, more. I think, of course, their match was better to me than the men's, in my opinion. And it's funny because WWE, they put up the 2019 women's MITB match, and I remember it once I saw Naomi in the Bumblebee, and I said, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing it." So I watched it again, and it makes me realize how many between this type of match and WrestleMania, how many high spots Naomi has. She has a lot of fucking high spots. I like kind of slept on it, or just didn't really consider it. She has a lot of high moments, within all these matches. Will she ever win the big one? Who knows? Um, Chelsea, always willing to be the comedic energy on it. From her mannerisms, if you watch the beginning when I think it was when Lyra came in, if you watch her face and how she's talking behind her, she's just funny overall. I did not expect her to end up going through that table the way that it happened. The setup was proper. I just, to me, it's just hats off to Chelsea. Like I said, I don't think that they see her as that. And if you know Chelsea, if you watch her interviews, she's fine with that. She's there to be a performer, to be entertaining. She has that. Really, she's really in it. I mean, she can wrestle, but she's got in her mind, I'm here to be an actress and do my acting thing and be funny. And she has her assignment in her mind, and it's really working. EO, to me, next to Mercedes, this is just my opinion. Next to Mercedes, EO really sells extremely well. And I say Mercedes when she was in WWE, a lot of, like, she's very pliable. Her body bends. She can get knocked out, jump over a rope. I'm speaking of Mercedes, and take a spill, and it really looks like she's injured. EO does a lot of the same thing. She might do a little bit better. That drop with Zoe, and then she's back. That's gonna be a legendary shot. That's probably all. Anytime they do, in my opinion, when Money in the Bank comes up and they do the inserts, I think that will probably always be added. It will definitely be added next year. She sells really well. Lyra really showed up, but the end result ended up being Tiffy. Tiffy's post stuff with Trish. If you saw that, hopefully we can get that match. That'll be really good. The way that she cuts her promos, the promo that she cut with with Trish, was really, really well done. The only thing that bugs me, and it's this young lady, she should know better, but I guess that she's just doing it because she's asked. When they do the post press conference, Elaine May, I think she's Sportskeeda. I'm very familiar with her because I've seen her in, I believe, ROH. I definitely seen her in New Japan. So she's pretty good as backstage. But when she asks, I hate well, I don't hate. I don't like it when people ask about storylines and what do we expect, and just why do you have to be the first to have the spoiler? Why can't we just enjoy the shit? It just works so much better. We just need to just be able to enjoy seeing things that we don't know. I mean, look, even though I did say, regardless, I'm not going to even go into it. Regardless, I just like being surprised. I don't like, so what is a Rock? How many surprises do you think we're going to see at WrestleMania? Really? That's why Rock was like, nice try, nice try. And on when she did the post for night one for WrestleMania. She did the same thing again. Oh, so you going to like, dude, just relax. You got there's a billion and one questions that you could ask her. Stop asking about fucking future storylines, man, because I want to enjoy it. Hence me referencing McIntyre winning the men's ladder match, Money in the Bank ladder match, because once he was the winner, I already knew what the situation is. So now, kudos to them. Excellent for the ladies. Want to bring it back to Damian Priest versus Seth. That match. The thing that was bugging me the most, outside of knowing that McIntyre is coming out, why would you have these guys consistently continue to look to see if McIntyre was coming out? It's dumb. It's predictable. We, I mean, look, I guess that's the goal that they were going for, point blank, period. But I'm in the middle of a match. Pay attention to the match. Why am I paying attention if some dude comes out, especially when you're cutting tough guy promos? If I'm cutting a tough guy promo, bro, when I see you, if you win and I'm not I'm not acting like I'm fearful of you. I'm just gonna take care of my match, and then when you come out, I'm gonna beat your ass too, or make the attempt. To have them stopping the match, looking for 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and go back to the match, it's just kind of overkill. So, it is what it is. I can't say that that match was horrible. It's just that it was predictable. Although I do enjoy what they did with Punk because it set up, you know, a triangular storyline because now he has heat with Seth again, and it's hotter now. We know that McIntyre is the first target soon as he gets cleared, but now you put another storyline in. So it sets that up. So now he already has two storylines in play. This takes me back to early AEW. He said in an interview, look, I have a notebook of 2 years of matches already, of storylines, of who I want to work with and how it's going to go down. So with that being said, we already see that when Punk comes back, he already has two storylines that are already in play. I personally, going into the Raw thing, I don't want to see him wrestle John Cena, especially after announcing it. I could really care less about Cena retiring. It's no hate involved. It's just, I mean, I get it. It's kind of gimmicky going into the Netflix era. Um, he kept saying that he doesn't want to be 50, still wrestling. I get it. It is what it is. But it's like when you announce it and then people are like, oh, yeah, I want to wrestle him. It's like, I'd rather just see that work into storyline because to me, then it just looks staged. But it is what it is. That actually, now that I'm thinking about it, could become an interesting work of art if they do it well. Because now we are in the seventh month of the year in July, and he says that he's coming back in January. So that gives them a lot of time to map this whole thing. Me personally, I don't want to see him do a WrestleMania run in the next WrestleMania. I don't want to see him in the Royal Rumble. But if it does, it's going to play right into a theory that I've already told you guys about. But we'll just wait that out because I'm waiting for it and I'm going to bring it up when this happens. So, with that said, Money in the Bank, decent, wasn't the best PLE under Triple H he's had, but I will say it wasn't a Vince PLE. A lot of good match. He's been putting together a lot of stuff in the PLEs that make you go, damn. A number of these matches are really of high caliber in the past PLEs. But my stance on the Money in the Bank, don't really care for it. Although I was reminded of the creative that they did during the pandemic when they had the Money in the Bank in the old Connecticut building, which I think they might still be in. I'm not sure. Um, that was very creative, and they showed Oscar, and I remember Oscar was really doing her thing that year. So anyhow, that's it for Money in the Bank that I can recall. Uh, yeah. So let's hop into some NXT. Side note: before I move on, I want to add a little bit more context to something that I was going to post and didn't have time for. That is Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu's arrival, or just Jacob Fatu in general. I had been uh, a fan of Jacob Fatu's since MLW. If anyone has listened to my past episodes, I speak on Brian Pillman Jr. and him changing up his wrestling style at AEW and now being at NXT is more of his style. I first saw Pillman Jr. at MLW, and at the same time, MJF was there, Jacob Fatu, and Hammerstone, which when whatever they're going to do with Impact and WWE, I do believe that you guys are really going to enjoy Hammerstone as well. But let's get back to Fatu. He has legendary matches with Hammerstone. One match that I will have you all look up. It is on YouTube, or it was on YouTube. I believe the company is PCW. Is that it? Or PG? Something. It's like Pacific Coast. It's a California company. I'm sorry that the company's name escapes me, and it's pretty known in the indie scene, but just not by me at this time. Hilarious. It is a three-way dance. Jacob Fatu versus Willie Mack versus Keith Lee. A barn burner, a slobber knocker, whatever else you want to call it. Three big men, and they're really just putting on a clinic. What was really impressive was that in his debut, the first thing I said to myself was, wow, he shed a ish load of pounds, and he actually looks like a superstar. It's like, there have been a lot of discussions with Eddie Kingston before he got injured recently, and that his body just does not, he's getting a lot of run in the other company, but the way he let his body go, it does not look like a superstar. Especially when you saw him smaller. When he came to the company, he was smaller and then just went kaput. I knew he had been training with Caesar Bonani, who trained Ethan Page and now Diana and her husband. Um, and I know he just did a session with Noelle Foley and Jordan Grace. So he had been training with Caesar, and then, of course, unfortunately, his injury. But Jacob Fatu has gotten himself into tremendous shape. He was ready to do what he's doing now, and he looks awesome. And I can't wait to see the Jacob Fatu in, let's say, 2 to 3 years when this whole bloodline thing is dissolved. I can completely see him main eventing a WrestleMania. I could also see Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, who I am familiar with. I might have already mentioned this before in New Japan. Very familiar with their work. Um, Loa had gotten injured, so I got more of a chance to see Tama on his solo run. And he's actually changed his gear a little bit, I guess, to fit into the storyline. But he had like a almost like an Iron Man type of get up that he wore but it was different. Not like how Johnny Gargano stuff is, but I think instead of like the circle, his is a triangle or something like that, and the colors are very much like I feel like Iron Man inspired. I didn't look it up to see if that was the case from his mind, like this was Iron Man inspired. But yeah, they man, it's gonna be very, very interesting when they have to team up against the Usos. That's probably gonna happen at WrestleMania, if they were wise. Because the Usos owe us a rematch of the sorts, what just a new match, a better match that would get us to not be reminded of their singles match. But like I said before, that wasn't their time. That wasn't their fault. It was time related. So it was just too many changes that happened. But anyhow, yeah, I wanted to give a shout out and mention Jacob Fatu.